with great passion and high energy, and he's very motivated about Agile, about people, about change. He's an Agile coach. He's also a project manager at Endava. He's also a trainer and a co-founder of AgilePool. And more than everything, he's a true Agile enthusiast. He has more than 10 years of experience, and as an Agile thinker, he has a strong technical background. He's one of the highly skillful Agile specialists in Bulgaria, and he has rich experience and interesting stories, which we'll be very happy to hear that he will share with us. With this, he has already started sharing, and I'm handing it over to him.
Hello everyone. So yeah, welcome. I'm honored to be here. I really want to thank for her whole organization, and I can say that I'm a little bit unlucky because last time in January there was a board meeting which took too long. Now we have the coronavirus, so we cannot see each other, but let's try get the maximum for this meeting anyway. So yeah, I was thinking what to talk about, and I decided to start with something, with a story that actually kind of shocked me when I read about this. It's actually a study by the Journal of the American Medical Association that was examining patients passed through heart injury, surgery, and this kind of stuff. So they were prescribed to live in a certain way, for instance, reducing fat and sugar and so on, quit smoking.
By heeding the busy schedule of buyers and sellers and creating online.
I hear something strange. Okay, so this association, they had this examination over people who passed heart surgeries and so on. So they've been prescribed with very strict diets and quit smoking and drinking alcohol and all kind of stuff. So when I ask myself, if this happens to me, God forbid, basically that will be I will be the machine, you know. I'll quit all the bad habits at one day. But it turned out that after 2 years, only 1 of 4 have actually adopted. Actually, 1 of 4 have not adopted at all anything of the change, and only 10% had actually adopted the whole new lifestyle. So I was very surprised to hear that actually this change is so difficult thing, and that's why actually I decided to talk about change. And last time in January, here in the previous PM chapter meeting, I was talking about the first half, because the change is a game of 2 halves, and the first half was how actually to convince someone, the manager, the boss, the company, the organization, all the people that are against, to try the change, to start the change. So I suppose there will be still questions about how can we convince that guy that is always against me. But actually, I spoke about this already. Again, I can still share something if we have these questions. But actually, this time, I want to talk about the exact running of the change. So how are we going to actually make it stick? Because it's, let's say, not easier job than convincing. So that's the way that I get to this topic, which is stories of agile failures and success. So things that work and didn't work. Some of these stories and examples are from my experience. I'm not sure I can share company names, but for such stories that I know from the web, from public case studies, I can, so I will mention also some real companies. And if there is one thing that I want to place in your heads as a leitmotif for the whole talk, is that we need some sort of inception. That means that we need agile transformation. I really like one quote by Stephen Covey, who says, if you want to achieve things that you haven't achieved before, you simply need to start doing things you haven't done before. So basically, if you're trying to run the Agile transformation as a old-fashioned project, it's usually not so successful. In other way, we want the Agile transformation to be Agile itself. So this is the main kind of topic which I'll talk around. Few words about me and why actually I dare to talk to you about this stuff. I'm an Agile coach. I have my small AgilePool organization. We do some trainings there. And I also work as a senior project manager in Endava. And I'm an Agile practitioner. So this is something that comes from my practice. I've worked with several organizations, different cases, different teams, different people. I've seen good and bad stuff. So I try to share things that I think works. At least for me, and we'll see. Maybe you can, take something and try to apply it, or I don't know. So, the first thing is that I would really like to have some interaction with you. So, I suppose most of you have phones around you. So now I'll ask you to take your phones, your mobile phones, and open this website, which is called www.menti.com, and enter the code 896184. This way you will be able to answer some questionnaires that I have prepared. So once you join, you can answer the first question, which is, have you participated at all at some point in an Agile transformation? So you can open menti.com, use the code, and let's see what the audience has related with the topic. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. Who is this guy? Okay, so yeah, you can continue voting. I think we can start analyzing the vote. So it's good to see that in this big audience, 100 and more than 100 people, we have lots of people with experience, some people with positive, some people not so many, but actually also people with negative experience with Agile transformations. We have big amount of people who are curious to learn more, so it's a good thing. And some skeptics, only one actually. I will be curious to see who is this person and to talk to him. It will be fun. And yeah, I guess there will be a good palette of questions at the end when you have this kind of distribution. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. So it turned out that everyone is Agile now. I have spoken to a bunch of managers, organizations, and so on. Everyone is Agile nowadays. So we don't need to fight this fight maybe anymore. Now everything is actually stating proudly that they're Agile, they're doing Agile, and so on. But unfortunately, when I get closer into the topic and deeper into the details, in many of these organizations I see something called the cargo mentality. What is cargo mentality? I'll give you a short story. So basically, in Second World War, the Americans, they wanted to attack, they entered the war against Japan. So what they needed was to cultivate some islands in the Pacific, which they can use for cargo. And as you can see here in the image, these natives here were not so developed as society. So basically, they were very happy with this cargo thing, because when the Americans came, they bring food and tools and goods. So it was very fun and positive for them. But unfortunately, the war was over and the Americans went away. So they abandoned these islands, and the natives, they were very disappointed with that. So they started thinking, okay, these people, they were doing something, and then the cargo was coming and the food and the goods. So what can we do actually? Let's try to think what were they doing. Maybe if we do the same thing, we'll get the same result. So they were starting copying things that they don't understand. So you can see here some sort of glasses, a plane, tower, some plus stuff, I don't know what they're about, and real planes again. So basically, what we can see here is this cargo mentality, that people are not really understanding, these people, they're not really understanding why, what's the purpose, what's going on, what's the reason, the meaning behind the thing. They just copy them. So that's what I see very often. I see organizations who are copying. For instance, let's say we have the same old organization, but with changed labels. So the manager is now called product owner, or the team lead is now called Scrum Master, but they're doing just the same thing. So we can see many such copy-paste stuff, which are unfortunately just cargo code mentality. And this is the so-called fake agility. So these are organizations who think that they have adopted Agile. They state very proudly that they have done it. But yeah, I've seen this. In one of the organizations that I work with, for instance, I saw that I went one day and everyone was very sad. I asked them, why are you so sad? What's going on? And they told me, you know what? The boss came yesterday. He said that, yeah, he's very happy with this Agile thing. So now all of us have to sign new labor positions and so on with the new positions. So what he was doing was that everyone with internal organizational position X was named something as a position, let's say Scrum Master or Team Lead or something more Agile-ish. And these people were very confused because they started talking about, okay, this new job description, it's with, let's say, lower number from the here with the jobs, and so on and so forth. I asked them, okay, you change this guy, the boss, and so on. He told you to change, to sign the new contract, to change your position. But what are you going to do? Is it something different? And the answer was pretty much no. We'll do the same thing. We just need to reassign. Okay. So another example was another organization that they had something called Russian retrospectives. So they were doing retrospectives, but Russian roulette retrospectives. So they were pretty much examining who is performing worse, and they were punishing him every time. So this was what happens in the retrospectives. In another organization, they told me again regarding retrospectives, you know what, let's cut the retrospectives, let's make them shorter, because actually we'll have more time for work there than if we do it. So yeah, if you don't improve and you just work, you think you achieve more. Yeah. Another example of fake agility was another organization that everything was super. So they had Scrum, they had self-organization, but once a critical moment came, basically the boss went out and said, you know, let's leave this Agile thing for calmer times, and let's now do micromanagement, pretty much. Which, yeah, unfortunately make the people less creative, and they couldn't find best ways to get out of the situation. But yeah, this is the so-called fake agility. And another example that I see very often is something like that. I go to an organization and I see a process. Let's say we're collecting the ideas, making interviews with customers, stakeholders, asking them what they want. Then we write a business case. Then we call the product board review meeting, and they are selecting which ideas will go. Then we have the capacity management. Then we have the engineering who are scrumming. So they're doing scrum. And at some point they're ready. So we start with one type of testing, another type of testing, integration, releasing, and so on. And this organization has the so-called water scrum fall. So these guys here in the middle, they're trying to be adaptive. All the rest are not so adaptive. Everything is really plan-driven. The good thing here, it's not only bad, is that that's not actually a problem. That's not something that must worry you very much. Basically, agile or agility, the agility is a path. It's a direction. So it's a vision that a place, an imaginal place where you want to go, to be super high performing, to have the least possible, let's say, unneeded things to be done. So you're totally lean, and all your people are super self-organized, and they have ownership and responsibility. So all these things is super cool. But this is the vision. And it's totally fine if you're somewhere on the road, because that means that you are there and you're moving. And the only important thing here is actually to understand where you are exactly, and to having in mind the direction to decide what will be your next step. So doing fake agility is not so bad. It means that you are on the road, you are on your way, and you're improving. The thing is that you should not stay there, of course. So what happens when let's say I go to some organization and they ask me, Nikola, let's do agile transformation. Give us our new agile process. We need agile process. And I started last time, for instance, with the question, okay, let's talk about this in a minute, but I want to ask you something different. What do you do good? What things you're proud of? And these folks, they were like, they were stunned. They couldn't really answer me for 5 minutes what's the good things that they're doing, because agility is a direction, it's a path, but it's also multifunctional, it's multi-directional. So we have lots of things that we maybe do very well, and I suppose we are, otherwise we are not going to be a living life company or life organization. So there are things that we're doing very well, and we should not just scratch it and go to some, let's say, framework, just because this framework is called Agile framework. It's very important for us to understand where we are, what things we do well, and what are our problems. So let's start addressing our issues. So another example like that are organizations that try to jump too much. So they're not doing just one step ahead, they're doing 5 steps. So I was in an organization they have no idea what's this agile mentality. They didn't have it. They didn't have any experience with that. So they were releasing, I don't know, once a year, and they just decided, okay, let's start with 2 weeks iterations and releasing every week, a couple of times. As you can imagine, it was a total chaos, and what happened was that these folks did not deliver anything in the first 6 months, because everything was unclear requirements and so on. So it's very important for us not to compare with the others. So yes, we see that Facebook are releasing every 5 seconds maybe, But it doesn't mean that to be agile, we should also start releasing from today every 5 seconds. So sometimes it's even not possible. In another organization where I was, they were dealing with medicine. So they were, let's say, in the pharmacy. So to have a pharmacy stuff produced, pharmacy product, you need years for approvals and so on. So the thing which you should compare yourself to is yourself, not the others, not the Facebook that is releasing every 10 seconds. So basically, if you have released a new medicine product in every 7 years, maybe you need to try do it for 6 years, then for 5, and so on. This is your goal. Sometimes it can be even dangerous. Again, with this same organization, they need to, it's another example, they needed to make a, let's say, questionnaire examination, customer survey or something like that. And I just told them, okay, just write draw some questionnaires and give them to the doctors and they'll tell you what they think. And they told me, you know what, if we do it, actually we will go to jail because we are not allowed to show any kinds of materials or information for drugs that are not actually approved. So all the design thinking stuff that were in my mind actually had to change. Yeah, cool. Another question, again, going to the mentee. What is the most crucial for your current organization? So I suppose every one of you is part of some sort of organization, could be even a family. I don't know if you're unemployed. So basically, what's most important thing that you think you need to, I don't know, improve, or what's the most crucial? Okay, a couple of more seconds. So what we see in these results is that actually we're different people working in different organizations and we have different priorities. So for some people, the productivity is the key thing. For others, it's the time to market. Others have issues handling the change, or there is no good project or product visibility and so on. The team morale is low. So basically, we're different organizations with different goals and priorities, but we try to copy paste stuff and to do them just like that. So this is the first step to really understand what is your goal. It could be this, what I gave you as an example. We were releasing once in 7 years. Now our goal is to release once in 6 years. It should never be that the agile transformation and the agility itself is the goal. I went to organization and they told me, you know what, we're perfectly fine, but we have some budget. Tell us how to be more agile, how to be agile. And I told them, no, you don't need this. Another organization, they just came to me and said, we have a bunch of issues. We need to give me our new agile process. And I told them, no, we don't need agile process. You need to understand actually what is your problem, and let's try having the agile mindset, the agile ways of working, which is something like continuous improvement and self-organization, and giving the people the empowerment to be creative and to make decisions. So let's then do this stuff again, but you should be able to understand where you are. So in many cases, what we do in the beginning of the change is that we should build a common understanding about this stuff. This could be, there are many examples of board workshops with board members who are really, which is for whom it's very important to be on the same page, on the same on the same page about what we want to achieve, what are our goals. Because I've never seen working agile organization where agile is the goal. It should never be the goal. It's the tool. It's the way that it can be achieved. In many organizations, so there are case studies, for instance, by Bosch and by Salesforce, and I've seen also others. And the common thing there is that they say, you know what, we didn't have agile transformation program or agile transformation initiative. We had Bosch transformation initiative or Salesforce transformation initiative. So basically, you can put in place this thing that it's not agile, the goal. The opposite, a lady came to me and she joined one of the trainings that we did. And at the end of the training, she was like, yeah, I got it. I really see how this works. So basically, she invited us with them in their organization, and she just told the people something like that. You know, do you remember last year when we didn't get our vacations in order to deliver something earlier because it was super important? Now these folks, these boys here will help us actually do it again, but without maybe sacrificing this vacation. So she saw that the goal is to be able to, actually here it was also even more interesting because it was for, again, medicine and pharmacy and things that are curing cancer. So basically it was like, if we do this stuff, maybe we'll be able to provide the cure to more people faster. So it gets lots of spirit in it. When we should actually do this, there are three places which I have defined. So the first one is to be proactive. So we have people who are proactive, who really want to improve. Example for that would be, let's say, Salesforce. As you remember, maybe they were one of the good CRM providers in the, let's say, 2000s, in the late 2000s, but actually now they are the top leader. Back then there wasn't. There were other. So what they did was that besides that they were very well positioned, they really understood that they need to change. So in this example, they were about that they wanted to go in cloud to start releasing automation stuff and so on. So basically this was their way. And the opposite is, for instance, Kodak. What they said was, we're not going to play tag with the digitals because Kodak was so powerful film company back then. But what happens now? Kodak is dead. It's because they were in love with their product and their state back then. And basically, this is the place where, let's say, as the dinosaurs here, they're asking themselves, "Oh crap, what was that today?" So this is what happens with Kodak. And the other option is actually to be agile from the beginning. This can be seen in all kinds of startups. Usually agility is very suitable and easily adopted in startup companies because it's very turbulent and they need to change and adapt. They don't have clear understanding about what's going on. They have good vision, which is basically helping them, but they need to adapt all the time. So these are the possibilities that maybe we can have. And how can we do it? Let's say we can do it two ways: evolutionary, in step-by-step manner, which means plan some small things, do them, act, check what we have done, and then act. Then we improve. Or maybe the other possibility is the Big Bang transformation, which is all at once. Let's do a big planning and let's go one day and say, from tomorrow we are a agile transform company and we're transforming it, and we start executing the plan. So these are the maybe there is something in the between. Now we'll see why actually we want something evolutionary. And the example that came to my mind was with this case where in the how can I say it, in the communist-ish period, what happened was that there was some great idea that we want to have a sailing channel from Dunau through Sofia and then to Burgas. So to connect Vidin, Sofia and Burgas with water and to be able to have ships sailing there and so on. So the people were going to dig holes in their weekends, and this is for real. I have spoken to my grandparents here in Sofia. They were going there to dig holes. Of course, nothing really happened. And why? Because actually there is something called gravity, which doesn't really give us this ability to bring the water here, and all kinds of other environment specific stuff that just, yeah, we cannot avoid them. So this is the thing that we need to have also with the organization. So for example, this organization that was Total House, and they decided to go agile, and it got more house. Actually, they were trying to get many steps at once, and what happens that the environment was not really supposed to allow them this thing. And the way that you can do this is if you do it more natural. So let's say you think about it as a flower or as an insect that should become a butterfly. So basically we have the goal, the vision, and we start, let's say, defining our backlog of change. So we have our main priorities, our problems, and what we do in the organization is to create our own backlog. So it's again agile transformation, backlog of change. Let's prioritize this backlog. Let's not leave it there locked down. Let's revise it and change it every, I don't know, couple of weeks or months. So this backlog of change of the transformation, it should address our main crucial goals and so on. And let's work with it. So with many organizations, this is proven to work. I've seen people who and organizations with whom we have created such backlogs. Usually they are, let's say, I don't know, hundreds or tens of action items, which is, of course, we want to improve everything. But when we order all this change in a backlog, in a prioritized manner, here is very important to have this common understanding, the whole board members and leadership to be aware of this backlog and these priorities, which is achieved through different sort of, let's say, workshops and things that we do in order to make them come with this backlog. So the other important thing is that to be natural, it should come from the organization itself. It's not like someone to come, let's say Nikola, and give you the recipe. No, it's not like that. I should go and ask them, okay, what we want to do. These are the options. Which option? Let's explore several of them. So it's something that this natural approach should come from the organization itself. One example was organization that were creating machines. So there were complex machines, there were engineering, software, hardware, electricity stuff, and so on. So it was very complex for me to go and give them just, I don't know, the Scrum framework. we had to think about stuff like dual track agile and so on, so we can have adaptation in the, let's say, in the software part, but a little bit more plan-driven approach in the hardware and so on. So basically, all these kind of things cannot work in copy-paste manner. We need to have this backlog and to change things one at a time or couple at a time. We can use different, not only the backlog, we can, I don't know, drive user personas for us, or use any kind of agile or not agile tool that can help us actually, that usually helps us in other activities. So we can do this. I've done this agile persona for us, for our transformation, so we can understand what we are usually. Yeah. And the other thing is the so-called Big Bang transformation. There is very good case study by PayPal who have done it. I have listened, I heard there a talk by a lady who was presenting. I suggest you find it, how they did it. And what they did was a Big Bang. So they were planning, and then you started executing it according to the plan. But when you get deeper into her story, you understand that in first place, the position where there was not at all on this path, on this way. So there was almost nothing that they were doing well. And because the organization was so, let's say, coupled as spaghetti, basically, what happened was that it would take years to get where they want to go if they go just evolutionary with small changes, getting what's working and fixing. Almost nothing was working, and they were not delivering. If you're not delivering, you cannot really. So this is your first thing, to have something deliver, and then you can go evolutionary. And what they did was actually that they were planning, and they executed the change. But the key element here for them to not fail, because at the beginning it was a disaster, was that they kind of jumped at some point on the way, but afterwards they started adapting. So in the Big Bang manner, they just wanted to put themselves in a position so they can start delivering something, and then the agile transformation continued. It was not over there. So they were adapting over that point. That was very interesting. So another Big Bang thing is to start from scratch. So it's I've seen these organizations. I've worked in a couple of them, maybe one, where they were old-fashioned organization. They wanted to go agile and to be competitive to Amazon, let's say. And what they did was that they established a whole new company, and they invited in this whole new company only the people that they knew that they will handle it. And the old organization remained, and they were dealing with some more, let's say, legacy stuff and so on. So this really worked. So it's also an option. But the problem is the fake agility. For example, this organization that I told you, we are agile, but when there is an emergency or a critical case, abandon it. Let's go back to the micromanagement. This is how it doesn't work. So you do the Big Bang, but then you stop there, and when the issues come, you just go back to where you were. Yeah, let's go to the next one. So you should be always evolutionary after the Big Bang. And final question. What would you start with? The organizational culture, the structure, the business, the tools, the environment, or maybe the engineering part? Which part we will start changing?
You're mute. Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry, let me start from where I was. So what I said was that, yeah, of course, the organizational culture is most important, but you should go with everything in parallel. So this is the controversial part here. On one hand, we have backlog prioritized, on the other hand, parallel. The good thing is that organizations can do few things at a time. So the culture is for sure the most important thing, but you need everything else. So Agile is full stack. You should have you should run the transformation in all directions. So structure, backlogs. So backlog means where the value comes, how you define value, tools, Scrum, whatever, Jira, engineering. The whole engineering should be agile. The way that we work, delivering fast, and so on. The environment should be agile, and so on. But the thing is that we should focus in all stuff, not one. That's why it's not easy. And what's not easy is for the management, because when we start this change and this transformation, the first point we face many problems, and we need basically somehow to transform the push from the outside into a pull from the inside. So here inside, down this line is the organization, and we need a strong management here, or let's say leadership here, people who are able to stop the push and transform it into a pull. It's not easy. It's a big issue. So this is very important for the top management. That's why we usually start transformation with them, with workshops and so on. In IGS, not IGS, sorry, in IGS, what they claim is that actually they started the agile transformation in the board membership team, in the leadership team. So they started the transformation. It was running nowhere else, but they were doing Scrum in their leadership level. They were having backlog with their day-to-day work and self-organization, and so this is something interesting. Another very interesting thing is that it's not cheap, and it takes lots of, let's say, resources. For instance, ING, they claim that they have rehired pretty much the whole organization. And of course, who was not wanting to be rehired was actually well paid and dismissed. But this is what they did. They rehired the whole organization that they had transformed, and with new expectations, with new hiring process, where culture and these kind of things are getting prioritized and so on. Another thing that we should know is the Achilles' heel is that the whole transformation is actually run by the middle management. Yes, the top management, they give the money and they give the vision, and they protect the push to be transformed into pull, but actually the middle management is the one who is actually executing the change. And the big problem here is that the middle management are the people who has to change at most, because let's say if you have an let's say software company, the software engineers, they were writing code after the transformation, or during the transformation, they will be still writing code. The top management, they were doing, I don't know, business deals, and after that, they were still doing it. But the middle management has to do something totally different. And this is the big problem in most cases. That's why you can see one example was Zappos, whose CEO sent an email, which was broader than that, but part of the email was basically decide by end of April if you want to embrace self-management or take servants package and leave. So similar as ING, but this is focused for the middle management. So here usually when we do the agile transformation, we need to be very careful and to know that if somewhere things are going to break are actually there, because people need to change a lot. It's not always in the comfort zone of the people. They are used to do stuff in the same way. They were good at doing it this way, but yeah, it's just now, let's say, self-management. Doesn't matter how smart you are, you cannot tell the people what to do, for instance. Okay, of course you can tell them, but they should decide to listen or not. Okay. Another thing is to understand the difference between consultant and a coach. I mentioned it earlier. If you have a consultant who is running agile transformation, he'll give you steps. I've seen these people going around organizations, leading meetings and so on. And once they leave the building, everything goes down and all the people are totally confused. So you need a coach, a person who is your people who are supposed to partner with you. So it should be you who is doing the thing, the organization should be doing the thing, and the coach, they're partnering, they're helping, they're supporting, but they're not just giving you the way. And in order to do it, you need internal transformation team. In the, let's say, best agile organization I have worked with, we had a super strong agile community, internal one. It was made of people, let's say, I don't know, 10, 12, 20 people, part of the organizations on different levels who are part of this agile community. They were driving the whole transformation from inside. Of course, we had agile coach and so on, and there was lots of partnering and coaching and so on, but it was super important that the transformation is run from inside. How we can do it? I try to get a little bit faster so you can get to the questions. The first thing that we should do is the Shu-Hari. Shu-Hari is how to become a master. It's coming from the martial arts. So Shu is the first phase. It's what we do usually with teams. We start with some Scrum, Kanban basics, and we do it several times. The idea here is to not have the so-called Scrum but, which is, maybe many of you have heard about the Scrum but. Scrum but is a very interesting practice. It's when someone says, we have Scrum, but we don't have product owner. We have Scrum, but we don't have backlogs. So basically, this is what we need here, to not have a Scrum, but to start with the basics, let's say Scrum or whatever we decide to do here again in the prioritized manner. And then when we're confident, it's like in the sport or martial arts, very confident with the basics, you start trying things and understanding what's working for you, what's not. And then you go into developing your own style, like let's say Spotify, the Spotify model. It's their own style, but they didn't start it there. So this is the important thing. Many cases people say, Agile is adaptive. We should not take everything from, let's adapt it from the beginning. Let's start on the phase in the beginning. Usually what happens is, I don't know, to give a kid to play against Federer in tennis. That will happen. And here we have the whole frameworks thing. So we have, let's say, transformation frameworks like ADKAR or the Knoster or the 8 Steps to Success by John Kotter, or it's a famous thing with the crossing the chasm and this normal distribution of the people who wants a change or not, and this kind of thing. So all this is super cool. It works. We have also SAFE, which gives you a perfect path of how you can become agile. But basically, you should understand that all these things could work, but you should at first understand them to not go in the cargo code thing. Second, do them in a way so you can get with the basics. And most importantly, use this stuff to help you build your change backlog. In many cases, when you have, let's say, the ADKAR model, you see here awareness of, you can think about stuff that you have not thought about, because these frameworks, they give you points of view. One additional step, which you will not find in frameworks, is that you should not stay in your organization. It's the same case. Like, if only the engineering department is agile and the rest is not, that means that the whole is not. So in the same way, if only our organization is agile and all the other organizations are not, it's not going to work. So we need to go out, we need to go to conference, to make presentations, to help others to write blog posts and open source stuff. This is the key element here, that in order for you to become agile, you need to help others. And now we can get the questions. I think we have some time for that, right? Giving the ball to the moderator. To
yes, for sure.
Questions.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. So we would like to welcome everyone who has a question to send them either via the chat box or to actually unmute and share the question with us verbally. That would be even greater. We also have a poll for you at the end to see how happy you are with this meeting. There was a question in the beginning why we changed the platform, because we are looking for the best platform that suits the needs of such an event. And also we are aware of vulnerabilities of the different software, so we're trying to be as beneficial as possible for the community. Okay. You can ask questions.
Hi, Nikola. It's Plumen Ancheva here. Thank you very much for this detailed presentation. I really appreciate that. My question to you would be, what would be your advice if we are actually a witness of organization which is trying to be agile, but we just rename waterfall steps with agile names? So it's like exactly as you mentioned, it's Scrum Bum. So what would be your advice on how we can actually influence if we're not the decision makers?
I got the point. It's similar to what I said regarding the that you should start with what's working. So this is one thing. Let's forget about all kind of things like change names and so on. It's obvious for many people that it's a problem, therefore others not. But what you can do is to go to the decision makers and to ask them, okay, what are you doing well? And they'll tell you, we're good in this and that. Okay, now, where is your biggest pain? Our biggest pain is blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's say your biggest pain is that you're delivering super slow. Super. According because we are agile, as you say, we need to deliver every 2 weeks and actually deliver fast. Where is the issue? So this is the main advice here. Address the pain points. And when you get to the pain points, then maybe you can start digging around and finding things that are maybe only labels changed or something like that. And then you can, of course, think about solutions. Again, prioritize them, run them in a backlog, not go everything at once or the first thing that you can have, or do not go with all the things that you can come with. But this is the important thing, that this change should come from inside. Of course, we can use coaches and consultants and books to explore options, but you should start with making the people understand that they have a problem. It's like with these anonymous alcoholics, that you should first understand that you have a problem. Okay.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the answer. There is a question in the chat box from Nikolai Kaskatiski. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. The question says, in Agile, how do we manage report to the highest management when asking for planning in the, I'm not able to see the last line, in the short horizon, I guess, that is to forecast activity. In the far horizon, to forecast activities that should happen in the future sprints.
Okay, so let's see. I think, yeah, I see the question. So I'm a little bit confused because report is one thing, planning is another. So reporting, of course, when you need a report, you should report. Either we should report or the management should report. Important thing here is to ask yourself, what's this report helping with? That's why usually we have addition to the reports. Maybe we can reduce some of the not needed reportings, but in addition we can have something like the Gemba walk, so asking the people, instead of getting information to report, to go around, walk and see, join some meetings. So this is a way to keep getting the information from the first line, not by reporting. If you want the long-term planning, the key thing here is that everyone should plan what's in his hands or her. So it's very important to understand the ownership, who owns what. If it's a top management, let's say they own a vision, they own the goals, they own the problems. So they should give you, and I'm sure they're very good at that, a good horizon of their goals and their problems and their priorities. So they can give you a well-structured and organized vision of the goals that you want to achieve. Then you need to empower the people who are going to execute those goals to actually plan them. It sounds simple, but of course it involves all kinds of meetings and workshops and things. But the concept here is that you should ask the top management or whatever to give you perfectly good written in report or not goals and problems, and you should give the people the opportunity to plan them, and then you have the planning. Of course, if you go with, because now I see the far horizon thing, we can go with things like backlog, which is endless and it's always changing, and things like OKRs, so we can actually have the goals with some key results measured and so on. But this is the main thing. We should have top down the vision, bottom up the plan.
Thank you. There is another comment I would say, but maybe you can comment on it. Colin says, I encourage people from my team to read about agile things. Most of them said they are interested or not interested. We're trying to work agile, but we're not. Maybe this is common in many organizations. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah. First thing maybe is that it's very important to have people who wants to read. It sounds funny, but it's very important to have organization who is hiring curious people who are curious, who want to develop, to evolve and to become better. So it starts in the hiring process. Of course, afterwards, it's obvious that you should have this case where you're asking them to read something for Agile, and they don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is that they don't see the value in this. I would not do anything that you ask me to do if I don't see value for myself, not for someone else. If I tell my people, let's say, read this Agile article because if we do these things here, we'll get 5% more money. Yeah, their salary will remain the same. So basically, it's something that's not value for them. The key thing here is to see to listen to them, because they're talking and they're sharing again their problems. Maybe some of them will say something like, I had this. We have problems with I'll get a little bit more technical, but in our integration part, so basically we stuck. This is the other team members are making very slow the code reviews, and we cannot really merge anything. So you're interested in this kind of things. Why don't you read this article, which is about how to get continuous integration? So this is the way. You should not push the change, you should make it a pull. So listen, they'll tell you where there are problems, and then give them the option to read stuff for their problems, not for your problems. Okay.
Thank you. There are a couple of more questions. I suggest that we take them before we wrap up. We have 5 to 7 minutes. Nikola Yordanov sends us a question, and it is, in case you know that you cannot successfully execute a full-scale agile transformation due to reasons out of your control, isn't it still better to have a water scrum flow, or to deploy it as much as you can in your organization rather than nothing at all?
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think I said it. Actually, it's not bad. The thing is that you should realize where you are, and you should start doing small steps, because now maybe you're not able to execute a full-scale agile transformation, but maybe in 1 year, when you have improved few stuff around, maybe then you'll be in that position. So this is the thing. Of course, it's it should be your decision how much effort and time you want to spend with this organization, getting stuff a little bit going to the way, through the path a little bit slower maybe. But it's not actually like that, because in many cases we can make transformation not vertically but horizontally, so you can improve many things. Again, this is very connected to the previous session which I gave regarding how to convince people for the change, but there are different techniques that you can do. So you can start with some small stuff and make them visible, celebrate your success, make everything that you do in Agile way super famous around. So this is maybe something which can make your people around start working with you, because you cannot do it alone. Last time I finished with one sentence, maybe it's good to finish it here, but in Denmark, they have this methodology for Holger from Denmark. He's some mythical giant or something like that, and they have this belief that this giant is sleeping, some mountain or whatever, and if at some point of the time the times become so bad and awful that everything is so disastrous that Denmark will be totally gone, basically he will wake up and he will remove and kill the threat. And behind this saying and this methodology, we have that Holger is actually the people. So what you need to do is not to run Scrum and so on. Your job is to awake Holger. That's the thing. Okay.
Thank you. There is one more from Stanislav Georgiev. We also give the opportunity to people to ask their questions themselves. If you would like to do this, it's totally fine. You can unmute. Otherwise, I can simply read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
In smaller companies, there are cases where one person is acting both as product owner and Scrum Master. The reasons are many, and the question is whether a person in a such situation can perform successfully acting in both roles at the same time. Does that comply with Agile mindset? Okay, let's start. So the good thing is that I have been there. I had the case where I personally was working as Scrum Master and Product Owner, and of course, the mindset is something which is in your mind, in your head. So you can always have, and you must always have the Agile mindset. Not because it's Agile, it's because of things like individuals are very important for us, or collaboration with customer is very important for us, and so on. So if you have this mindset, then it will be easier for you to be successful. If you don't have it, then you need to really think about it and work on this. It's difficult to be Scrum Master and Product Owner, because in many cases the Product Owner is demanding. He wants he wants stuff. The Scrum Master, on the other hand, should be healing. He is growing the team. In many places, he should sometimes even allow the team to fail in order to learn. So this kind of stuff are very controversial, and you should be a little bit, let's say, schizophrenic sometimes. And in order to do it, you should make very clear to everyone around when you're changing the heads. because the main problem here is for the person who is listening to you, who is talking to you, to understand who is talking now. Is it the Scrum Master who is talking, or is the product owner who is talking? So you should make it very explicit on which head do you have now. And then I think it could work, but it's difficult. Okay, should I go with more?
Yes, I suggest that we take a few more.
Yeah, I have time. I'll not go anywhere. Don't worry.
It's okay. We just want to value people's time. Let's give quick answers. Vasil, Kaftan,
try to be quick. Okay. What's information?
What information out here?
Okay. What information or radiators toward progress you have used towards higher management in a junior agile team before story points were introduced? I'm not sure I understand very well the question. Information radiators are things like information on the wall, drawings, stuff which you can have. I have seen very funny things like the Scrum guide written in a toilet paper and this kind of things. It's very good. It's very good for values and stuff. It's not they're not going to work by themselves, but they can help you. So if you have your company values written in the walls, it helps. Of course, if your top management is not following them, it will not help. But yeah, information radiators in general help. So
can I ask my question a little bit more? Yeah, I'll try to be more to the point. The idea is you have a team that has not yet implemented story points and has brief knowledge about story sizing, right?
Yeah.
However, you know that while you're doing a transformation from waterfall to agile, the most common question asked by top management is, are you going to do it? When are you going to be finished, right?
Yep.
And how can I feel that you're making progress? So how do you make this happen?
So
in the so-called interim period.
Yeah, I got it. The thing is that let's go back to the shoe hurry. You need the shoe face. So you need to train everyone in the basics. So if someone doesn't understand story points, it's not rocket science. Just bring some trainer or someone so they can understand story points. It's really simple concept. I'm pretty sure everyone can understand it if it's well explained. And it's also difficult. I have explained thousands of times and with all kinds of people. I'm pretty sure it will be understood by everyone. Now the question, when are we going to be ready with something? The key question here is to transform it from when are you going to deliver me this scope to the question, when are you going to give me a solution for this problem? If you have this question changed, then basically if you're being asked when are you going to deliver me, to give me a solution for my problem, it's one thing, and when are you going to be ready with a scope is another. The problem with the scope is that it's changing. The problem is not. And usually, of course, using some tools like velocity and so on, we can think about stuff because we know that we can deliver amount of value, which is pretty much the velocity. It depends how you do it. And we can understand how big is the problem. But of course, with the time, the scope will change. But we still will deliver a good solution in, let's say, a month. Okay?
Yeah, I'm satisfied. And thank you very much.
Yeah, and just one quick addition here. Of course, it's perfectly fine to give any kinds of estimates with your best, let's say, will and experience and so on. The key point is to not leave them there. So this person, he should be close. He should see what's happening every iteration, or even every day if it's possible. Because the problem is not that you have estimated something. The problem is that you have faced something today that we did not know about tomorrow or yesterday. So the close communication, this thing from the Agile Manifesto that business and teams should work close, should be transformed here. Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Let's go with another one, maybe.
Let's choose one from Boriana so that we can diversify a little bit. She asks, I believe communication within team is great when agile. Okay, yes, when agile. How to start change in communication in a team that starts to do Scrum for the first time? What will you suggest as first steps?
Same thing. Start with what they do good, because they, for sure, they are proud with some stuff, and tell them these things will not change. Of course, they can be modified, but if they're doing something good and well, you will not just scratch it because Scrum says so. Maybe you need to tweak it. And how to work with them is, again, addressing their pain. Don't sell them Scrum. Don't sell them, if you do Scrum, you'll be organization number one in the world. Tell them, if we try Scrum as an experiment for a couple of weeks, maybe we can, I don't know, heal a big pain that we have. Let's say the biggest pain of this team is that the boss is coming every 5 minutes asking what's going on, are you ready? So let's try this thing that gives you a sprint where you do commitment and you can work in focused isolation for a week, then deliver it. That's it.
Great. There's the next one, very interesting. Do you believe that Agile can be fully adapted to any kind of organizations, for example, manufacturing?
Yes, I do. Of course, and because I'm a mathematician as well, fully like 100% stuff doesn't exist, but it's actually good and bad, because it cannot be fully, but it can get better always. So I've seen many, the example that I gave you with the organization that was building machines. So they were like game machines with hardware, software, engineering, electricity, design, all kinds of things. There are examples from Saab Gripen, this aircraft that we didn't buy because they were too cheap. Actually, they were done in Scrum manner. So they're creating aircrafts, so planes, warplanes, in 3-week sprints. So it's possible, but again, you should understand it. You should be very careful with the cargo mentality, because the usual problem is, let's say, something simple like, but how are we going to deliver something every sprint? Because we're doing aircraft. The answer is that you should understand what's this thing behind, what's the reason of Scrum to ask you, the developer, because the Scrum is coming from developers. What's the reason that we want to make the developers actually deliver something every sprint? And if we go deeper, it's because we need the learning. And why we need the learning? Because we have several hypotheses, theories that something will give us money or value or whatever, and we want to check our hypothesis. We want to check if our belief is right or wrong. So what we can achieve very well in, let's say, aircraft production is to try to ask ourselves, what's the most important thing which we can validate? What's our most important belief that we want to validate in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks? And then we can try self-organize and do Scrum and whatever. Again, you just need to understand the concept and apply it for your case. Okay.
Thank you. Let's have a look at a few more. Anelia Zakharieva asks, is there a correlation between Agile, commonly accepted as a flexible approach, and the operational work where we have to execute strict processes, meet SLAs, and keep customer satisfaction?
Yeah, sure. Actually, let's say the father of Agile is Lean. Basically, Agile is Lean. So Lean is a little bit broader, but Agile is Lean. So maybe I can say that Lean and Agile are the two sides of the coin. Because Agile, again, on first place is a mindset. Let's say our customer, close collaboration with the customer, key value. Of course, we can have this value following doing some service. another value is that we need something working. It's very important for us in order to validate assumptions and to give value. We're not so focused in documentation. It's important, but value is more important. It's totally applicable mindset for services. The thing is that in order to do it, maybe you cannot plan sprint for that. Let's say you're working on customer support stuff, you cannot plan 2 weeks, but you still can have the thinking, which is change is good, change is competitive advantage, or the customer needs to be in a good relation with us. And we can use tools like Kanban, which can help us actually achieve the same thing with Scrum, but in this case. Okay.
Thank you. Let's try to briefly address a few more. Andrei Nikolov asks, what are the key indicators to measure to be able to decide if an agile transformation is beneficial and cost-effective for an organization?
Yeah. So cost-effective, I don't know really, because again, I said it's not, it's expensive. And what we usually want is long-term benefit. So actually, it's easy. You can always size or keep track of what are you investing and what's the return. But what are the key metrics? The problem here is the same. So there are hundreds of metrics, but in many cases they could measure something that you're not interested with. So you should start with again with yourself, with your problems. Let's say our biggest issue is that we deliver very slow. So now we deliver every 7 months. This can be counted. You can have a measurement or KPI or whatever that you should check how fast you deliver after a week. The key thing here is that you should always compare to yourself, not to Facebook, who are delivering every 2 weeks. So that's the thing. Get metrics. We know hundreds of metrics. You can measure, I don't know, from productivity, value, money, health check, whatever. But it's important to understand what you want to understand with these metrics and to use the ones that are applicable.
Thank you, Nikola. Martina de los Santos asks you, can you give one practical example from your experience where Agile approach was applied?
Practical example of my experience. In my personal life, what I mean is that I have, let's say, done university lecturing, and I really don't believe that I should go and read lectures for my students. So we did the whole class in Agile way, which means that actually it was a class for Agile, of course. But what we did was that we defined goals for the class, and we run cycles to achieve those goals and so on. I really don't understand the question. Practical example where Agile approach was applied. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's my team now. We have a good Agile approach, and it's, let's say, using Scrum, having the mindset, working day to day with the people so they can improve and work on their mindset.
Thank you. There are 2 questions that are related to cost. Maybe we can combine them. How are you calculating the price to the client in Agile, per person, per scope, or in another way? And the next question is, how do you manage the price after the agreement? Like fixed price? Does it mean that you have to use waterfall, not Agile? If yes, how?
Let's go them one by one. Can you repeat the first one?
Yes.
I try to find it, but I can.
How are you calculating the price? Per person, per scope, or other way? That is literally the question.
Price of what? Price of the project, price of what? I mean, okay, I think I got the question. For some, if it's for a project or product or delivery, and you're asking me how to calculate the price, They are well-known approaches. I'm sure you know them better than me. So it can be time and material, fixed, whatever, something in between. Yeah, this is what we do. The only thing that we can do it different is that we should start measuring not scope but value. So we should make a contract for value, not for scope. And the other very important thing is that this contract should be revised when it's necessary, because the contract in many cases, in every case, actually address the position in which we are today. Tomorrow will be in another one, so we can make amendments of the contract when they're needed. If you go a little bit more practical, a way that you can run, again, time and material or not is, let's say, price per story point. It can be also time, it's fine. With the time, it's a little bit more tricky because it's not the same thing to have 1 hour for something for senior and 1 hour for junior person and this kind of things. So it's better to try to have a contract for value. I've seen such story point based contracts, they work fine. So you can have even fixed price stuff. The only important thing is to not go in too much details, because of course you can size login functionality as 5 story points, and you know that your team will deliver it for 1 week. So basically, yeah, you can, of course, you make the calculation for yourself. What's the cost for you, this team, and you give your price. I start forgetting my thought. But yeah, the thing is that you should not, yeah, I got it. So you should not want too much details. So if you sign that every button is in the pixel X, then it's a little bit useless. Just make your contracts a little bit more value driven, a little bit more high level. Sign contracts for functionalities, for problems, not for scope. Yeah.
Thank you. I think more or less this answered the second question. There is one that I believe we have to ask. At which step in the Agile transformation shall mapping of the current roles be done to Agile roles? As an example, I can give the role of the project manager, which is somehow removed in the Agile world. The question is from Kremena Terekieva.
Yeah, the problem here is at what point you can do it. The best thing, I think, is to do it in the beginning. Something that I forget to mention is that in order to have, it's very important that I forget about it, and thank for the question. To run Agile transformation, you should have individual approach with everyone. That means that you should have people, that's why I spoke about change agent team, internal team, who are talking with every single person in the organization, and they are explaining him, and they're talking to him, and they're giving him the overview and the training needed, so he can understand why we do these things, what's the value for him or her, not for you, and these kind of things. So basically, what was the question? Sorry, I got that. I forgot my
about the
again.
mapping of the roles.
Oh, yeah, the mapping. The problem with the transformation is that it's transformation. So, in other words, we should change our form. We should transform. If you do only mapping, it's not transformation. It's mapping. That's the problem. In many cases, it's a good idea to map because, as I said, what you do, part of your current activities are very well, they deliver value and so on. So it's a good idea to map them to the, let's say, Scrum Master role or whatever role. But this is in order to help the people understand where they're going, and that they're not just starting from scratch, scratching all the good things that they're doing. The thing is that if you do just mapping, you pretty much do the replacement of the labels, and that's it. If you do it earlier, it's better. And when you do a Agile transformation, first step that we do again is basic training. Everyone should understand the things. And if there is a change, it should be well communicated with every single person. So this is very crucial. Talk to everyone, spend time with everyone. Not you, of course, you have a team to do it. It's not for a single person. But this is very important.
Thank you, Nikola. For the sake of time, I suggest that we wrap it up. Thank you to everyone who shared their questions. Would you like to share closing words with our participants?
So yeah, again, your job is not the agile transformation. Your job is to awake Bulgaria. That's it. Thank you.
That is a great finish. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure to hear stories from Agile practitioners like you. I'm happy to share that we had more than 160 participants, and a recording of the session will be distributed to PMI Bulgaria chapter members. If you're interested in becoming a member, please visit pmi.bg. We have posted a direct link in the chat box. As we would like to get better, of course, that is part of our journey, we would like to ask you to fill a short survey that we are pasting in the chat box as I speak. I would like to remind you about the volunteering opportunities that PMI Bulgaria chapter is offering. As you know that we are all volunteers and we're looking to bring value to the project management community in Bulgaria. We recently shared on social media that we're exploring the opportunities not only for the next annual conference, which is since last year known as the Project Management Summit Bulgaria, but also for a new initiative that is called the Bulgarian Project Management Awards 2020. Today is the last day for submitting an application for the call for volunteers, and you can find the links on our Facebook page, on our LinkedIn page, and it will be also posted in a minute here. So we would be for sure very, very happy to see our members and non-members, of course, involved. The link that you just received is the link to the call for volunteers for the new initiative that we also hold. Also, in the meantime, we're happy to share that we just kicked off the Project Management Summit Bulgaria. Given the situation right now, we are exploring opportunities. So please stay tuned and expect more updates.